So, welcome to the 30-Second Success Podcast, where clarity, courage, and connection come to life through the decisions that define us. I'm your host, Laura Templeton, and today we're diving into the bold, messy, and meaningful moments that help us move forward in business and in life. And with me today, I have one of my dear friends, Rich LaMonica. Rich and I met a while ago through, believe it or not, a podcast guesting service, and he had me on his podcast. Rich is the founder of Misfit Nation, and I want him to introduce himself by sharing his 30-second message.
Thank you, Laura. My 30-second message. I am the host of the Misfit Nation and founder, but I'm also an advocate for veterans. Veterans are my heart. They're what keeps me going every day. So when I wake up in the morning, I say, how can I help the next person be better than I was when I stepped out of service? That's what drives me to be the best version of me every day. So every day you have chances to make decisions. And I was taught one time that a 30-second decision can change your life. And that had to do with war, but it can do with everything in life. We're all 31 decision away from being on the street. You have to make decisions daily that align with your goals, your culture, your morals to move forward. And if you are struggling, enlist your tribe. Do not go things alone. And I'll be part of your tribe if you need me to be your big brother, your mentor, your friend as you go through this. Don't do things alone. We are here for you.
Love that. I love that. I love that introduction and the fact that you have such a heart for helping our veterans because you've been there, you've done this, you've done the transition back into civilian life. And for our audience, something that you guys need to know, Rich and I are actually working on a book together. So there's always that, right? So and Rich is an author by trade. He's actually authored two books, which is amazing in and of itself. So he has a heart for sharing his knowledge with the world. And Rich, can you just share a little bit more about what the Misfit Nation does and how you work with your audience?
Oh, definitely. The Misfit Nation originally started just to get veterans to come on and tell their story, get that pressure off their chest, so they wouldn't become part of the glowing statistic of 22 a day we're losing to unaliving themselves. Then my first 12 or so came back to me and said, hey, brother, this is awesome, but we need more help. We need to learn how to write books. We need to learn how to start businesses. We need to learn how to maybe get into music, into Hollywood, more mental health tools so we're not taking drugs and being zombies. So I said, okay, challenge accepted, which you'll see is my mantra through a lot of things in life is challenge accepted. And I took that challenge, and last night, I think, or Sunday night, we re-recorded our 582nd episode of the Misfit Nation, trying to help others be the best versions of themselves. And at the end of every show now, we ask our guest, what's three things the Misfit Nation can do tomorrow to be better humans? And on a Tuesday crew, what's three things you have to do daily to make your day successful? So there's always three things, but either better humans or be successful. And we try to spread that word of positivity and keep that mindset that you can complete anything you put your mind to. You are stronger than you think, and you can do all those things.
I love that. And I think that's one of the things that connected us so well to, understanding how that 30 seconds can make such a difference in your life, right? So take us back to a 30-second decision that changed everything for you. What happened in that moment and what came next?
Well, I can go back to a lot of 30-second decisions, but in combat in 2010, I lost a soldier. And my first soldier I ever lost in 2010, December 31st, Michael Beckerman. And I could have let that moment change my trajectory in life and go bad and make a 30-second decision to go completely off the rails and do something that would make me get on TV. Or I can make a 30-second decision to correct it and make all my people, all the rest of my platoon, come home whole and heroes. I made the decision to make them all come home whole, and we all kept our heads level headed and made it through the next 4 months of that deployment without losing anyone else and keeping each other up and going. And that's where the Misfit Nation came from. The name of that platoon was the Misfits.
That's a beautiful story. I love that. I don't think you've ever shared that with me.
Probably not.
Oh, no, I love that. So now reflecting back on that, and I am certain that that was the right decision for you to make.
Yes.
And how did you turn that into a catalyst for other decisions that you made going forward?
Prior to that deployment, when I got the 30-second speech from Sergeant Major Wayne P. St. Louis. He told us in a big room, senior NCOs, You get 30 seconds to make a decision to make a difference in life. And in combat, that 30 seconds is fast. So when I made that decision, I didn't have a lot of time to harp on it. I had 30 seconds to make a decision which way I was going to go, which path I was going to take, the road less traveled. When I made the decision to do the right thing and move forward, it showed that if you make that right decision, it may be harder work, but life is hard. It's not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to put effort into things. And that choice showed me that every time you put effort into something, good things happen. And that's what has pushed me forward from there.
I love that. I love that. So,
Hmm.
has there ever been a time where you made a fast and scary decision that you weren't sure was going to turn out, but it turned out being the exact thing that you needed?
The decision to start the podcast, actually. I know I've told you this before. I had 8 hours of my week left open because I graduated with my master's from Georgetown, and I have to do stuff all the time after coming out of doing things so often in the military. You're on the go all the time. I needed those 8 hours filled up. I said, let's make a decision and let's start this podcast. How hard could it possibly be? It's actually a lot of work to do a podcast, but the rewards are way better than not doing it. Knowing that for those 580 plus episodes now, we've helped one person per episode. That's 580 people we've helped. It could be a lot more numbers, but I always count one person per episode. And because I'm not going to, don't go into the stats as much as most other people do, but 580 people touched and learned something, reach one, teach one. That decision not only changed my trajectory, got my face out there, got our brand out there, but it also helped all those people. And that's what makes that decision so much better.
I love that. Reach one, teach one. That's beautiful. That's powerful, right? And it really
Yeah.
makes a difference. And that leads me to my next question. What ripple effect did that moment have on your business, your brand, and your leadership journey?
It was almost like a tidal wave of ripples. It made me write the first book, put 13 Step Guide to Success out because you can't be a host of a show talking about being a better person without letting people know that you've been through it. So I wrote that book and put a lot of my own anecdotes in there from my life to show that each one of those steps I've performed and I've done those things. And then I also put out the Out of the Darkness book last year, the 2023, showing that there is a journey for all of us as veterans that you go to those peaks and you go to those valleys and you wind up in that world where how did I get here? And that helped me. The storytelling is a lot better now that I'm practicing with
Mm.
all those episodes, obviously, meeting a ton of new people like yourself. I got to meet you and all the other guests that I've had on there. I learned something from everyone. Everyone that comes on my show, I learn something. And I try to incorporate that into the show for the next guest so that maybe it'll help them and help the people that are watching that show. So the ripples are awesome. I mean, there's lows too. You have some things that go bad and you learn on the fly. Like I was telling you in the green room, me and Zoom do not get along, so I had to move on from Zoom. We had a little divorce, me and Zoom, and we moved forward. I went to a different platform, but that's just a learning curve, that ripple. You have to keep learning and stay ahead of the curve in technology and everything to stay in this game as long as we have and not hit that pod fade like a lot of our peers do.
And I love that. I love that you're learning and you're teaching. And I totally feel that what the Misfit Nation is doing, it's not just for the folks in our military. Yes, that's the purpose behind that's your mission, right? That's really your mission and your intention to help people who are transitioning. But more importantly, civilians can learn as well, right? The people in business, I think it's so powerful the lessons that you teach in the Misfit Nation can be applied to people that are small business owners who are
Yeah.
professionals in the workforce, not just from the perspective of how we can help our veterans, but more of how we can live ourselves. Right. I think there's such an impactful message that you bring to the world. And I've witnessed it and I've experienced it. And I think it's such a beautiful gift that you're giving back. And I thank you for that. So thank you
No
for
problem.
sharing, that just the things that you're learning with all of us out here.
I
So,
appreciate that.
so quick reminder, if you're enjoying this episode, please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe to the podcast. Your support helps us reach more people with stories and strategies that inspire real connection. So, Rich, tell me a little bit more about some of the challenges that most people struggle with that may not see it from the outside, right? Some of the challenges that you've had to overcome for yourself or have helped others overcome that not everybody sees. This is, really from a leadership perspective, what are some of those challenges that your audience may or our audience might be able to relate to?
I think the number one challenge for most people is not understanding how strong they are and knowing that they have gone through a lot of ups and downs in life, the ripples, the mountains that they've climbed, the roller coaster of life, that they have fallen down a lot of times, but they've also gotten up. And you're judged not by how many times you fall, you're judged by how many times you get back up. And I try to teach that and instill that in people when I coach them, that you're not a failure because you didn't succeed today or didn't succeed at that one thing today. You only fail if you stop trying. You got to keep trying. You got to take those shots. Wayne Gretzky once said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." You have to take the shot in order to see if you're going to make the shot. You can't just sit back and say, "Oh, it didn't work today. I'm just going to quit." Keep pushing. If it's your passion, it's your purpose, you got to keep pushing. And that's one thing we try to instill that in everyone we talk to, myself, Jake, and Steven from the Tuesday crew. We try to push that on everybody and let them know that we're their biggest cheerleader. We want you to succeed. Even if you're another podcast host in the same genre as us, same niche as us, we want you to succeed. Because if you're succeeding, our brand is growing. Everyone's growing. We all succeed together. There's enough people out here, there's enough people on this planet that listen to podcasts that we all can share a little bit of the audience and be successful. It's not just about me, it's about we, and we have to have a successful mindset.
Beautiful. I love that. And you're absolutely right. Having that successful mindset really makes a difference, especially when things are hard.
Yep.
And, so sometimes we learn so much from the difficulties that we go through, and that becomes part of our lessons that we can then impart to others. And I think that's such a beautiful and powerful way to share your mission and your purpose by letting people know failure happens.
Yep.
And this is something we need to learn from. I think that's a beautiful and very powerful invitation to your audience and for the folks out here that are listening to really embrace what you've been through and look at it from the perspective of a learning as opposed to a failure. Look at it from the perspective of how can you take that lesson and move forward. And it's kind of like what not to do. Sometimes that's the
That's
biggest
the
thing. But
lesson.
I think making that 30-second decision to try something is really powerful, whether it works out or not. It's not necessarily whether it works out or not that's important. It's that you made the decision, you tried it, you learned from it. What's the next step? What's the next
Right.
decision that you need to make? And that keeps you moving forward. That builds momentum. That moves you towards your goals. And keeping that goal in mind is really important as well.
Yes.
And I see you doing that really well with your audience. So, what's something that you've had to unlearn in order to grow?
Growing up in New Jersey, you're taught you have to speak in order to be heard. You got to be loud. You got to be always in the conversation. What I've learned in order to make myself a better host, make myself a better human, is to listen and just listen to hear, not to speak. So don't try to one up like after you finish that, I could have one upped you and said something, or I can just sit here and relax and just relate to what you're saying and talk like normal humans should do. And I learned that on the fly. And I learned that probably about halfway through my military career that I can listen to people, understand what they're going through, and maybe come up with a solution at the end of it. So I listen to hear, not to speak. And I used to have that written on the board behind my desk in the office there. So there was someone that sat next to me who would always listen just to speak, or he wouldn't listen. He would just
Mm,
speak and just jump on you when you talk. So I had that written there. And he never understood why I had it written there. I guess it just never sank in. But it's something that it means a lot to me when you listen to me and hear me and then come back with a like you've been coming back to me with great questions because you're listening to me, and that's something that helps every interviewer and every person, even if you just go to have coffee with someone, listen to what they're saying. They're probably saying something you need to hear maybe to help them, because most people will share stuff with you hoping that you hear it or maybe hoping that you don't hear it, but they get it off their chest. But if you do hear it and are able to help them, that's all the much better.
but I love it. You're speaking my language. It's one of the things that I love to really dive into is helping people understand how important it is to listen.
Yes.
Not listen to figure out what you're gonna say next, but listen to actually listen so that the other person feels heard. And you're at I did not know you were from New Jersey.
Yes.
So I'm a Pennsylvania girl. I live in
Okay,
Florida now, but I'm a Pennsylvania girl. So we were close-ish neighbors.
pretty close, yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So we'll have to dive in sometime to, what's your favorite team and all that other stuff. But
I have a feeling we'll be
because
fighting.
some of my New Jersey friends are Eagles fans. So let's just say that.
I
So
have a cousin that's an Eagles fan.
yeah.
Yeah. And the
So
Chiefs.
yeah, you just never know. You never
Yeah.
know. So what helps you stay grounded when things feel uncertain or overwhelming?
I think my upbringing, my mom and dad taught us from an early age that you have to work for everything you get. My dad was always working 2 or 3 jobs. Mom didn't make it out of high school, but she was always working and trying to better things for our family. She'd work 2 or 3 jobs as well to help put the things on our table, give us the things we need, not the things we wanted, the things you needed. And that lives that humble background for us to say, hey, you don't have to have the Porsche or the Jaguar, you can drive the Volkswagen, you can drive the Hyundai and still get to the same point. It's the same thing. You're still driving the same way. Just remember to always look back and say you could have it much better, or you can have it all with not spending all that money, and know that you can be humble along the way and be successful without all that.
Yeah. Humility goes a long way, doesn't it? And
Yes,
I think that's where that heart comes into your everyday interactions when we become more compassionate towards the people that we're hanging out with.
all right.
And it starts with that humility. I love that you've learned that. A lot of my lessons have come from my parents, and I
Yeah.
and I appreciate that you recognize that. That's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Now,
I think
granted,
we're probably
I'm sure we both didn't know we were learning those lessons when we were being taught them. So I know
no.
I didn't realize I was getting those lessons. I said, yeah, whatever, Dad. Yeah, whatever, Mom. Good. That's great. Awesome. Great. Wonderful.
Yeah,
But then as you grow up, you're like, oh, that made sense. And here we are.
yeah, yeah. So, quick question: has your daughter ever come back and said, "Thank you, Dad"?
Yes. Yes. She
That's awesome
understands
when that
now.
happens, right?
It's an eye opener.
It's an amazing when your kids become adults and all of a sudden they go, "Oh, now I get it."
And now they're
And
adulting.
I've
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Now they're adulting, and I've actually had to be humble enough to say the same thing to my parents. Thank you. It is a blessing to learn from those who've gone before us, and I think that's really important and really powerful to have people to lean on. And it is beautiful. So I thank you for sharing that. Your parents had such an impact on you. It's
No
beautiful.
problem.
Yeah. So what advice would you give someone facing their own make or break moments?
Breathe. Breathe and don't make a rush decision. Think about all the pros and cons of that decision and try. I mean, you may have only 30 seconds to make that decision, and you can let all this stuff go through your head and wiggle off like the big computer that's in there. Let the pros and cons soak in and understand that you're going to make the decision based on what's going to be best for you. But sometimes the hard right is the best thing to do the work and go with it. It may take a little longer to get to that finish line, but do that and that'll help you out.
I love that. I love that. Sometimes it's not always about taking the easy road.
All right.
Yeah, it is. It's doing what's right and what feels right. Sometimes we have to trust our gut,
Right.
and sometimes we don't want to. So
Sometimes you don't. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of times what happens when you don't trust your gut, you right? You wind up going down the wrong road and then have to course correct later on.
And do
So
double
so
work.
what do you I'm sorry, go ahead.
Do double work on that back end because you just did
Yes.
the shortcut, but you don't know all the stuff that went between to make that happen. So now you got to go double work to make it back to the right road anyway. So you got to make the decision.
About making decisions, right? Is don't get one of the things that I find a lot of times is I work with clients who have been stuck in indecision. They want somebody to tell them the easy way to do something, and it's like they sometimes need someone to say, "No, you need to do it this way." And they push back, and it's this is what's going to be the best way for you to move forward, and it, right? Helping them to really sink into that deeper understanding and become more in tune with what feels right so that you can get them to move out of that indecision.
Right.
And that's not always easy.
No.
Been there, done that, right?
Yeah. When you're teaching, coaching, and mentoring someone, you don't want to give them the whole playbook. You want to tell them the way, a way to do something, but don't give them the final answer. let them find the final answer on their own by using the tools you gave them. That way they
Yep.
do become successful, but they also become stronger because they learned on the way. They got those little scabs on their arms and legs from getting out there and running and learn that failure is a bruise, not a tattoo along the way.
Love that. Oh, that's quotable.
I'm giving you a bunch.
Failure is a bruise, not a tattoo along the way. I love it. I love it. That's perfect. I love that one. So what do you wish more people understood about leadership and entrepreneurship and growth?
The leadership, number one, it's not about the title. It's not about being CEO of this or president of that. It's being able to relate to people and show them the way to do things just by actions. You can go to work every day, be there at the same time, 8 a.m. or whatever time your workday starts, be the first one there, be early. If you got to be there at 8, be there 10 minutes too, to show them that you've bought into it to lead that position that you're in, whatever position you're in. Show them that you're willing to put effort in, and then they will put effort as well as far as leadership. As an entrepreneur is a lonely road. If you're a solopreneur, especially, you have to learn to be disciplined in your daily life. You have to learn to have work here and life here and have that balance. Otherwise, you're going to burn out and one of them is going to fail. You have to understand that there's two separate entities and you have to treat them both the same. If you want that baby of your business to grow and into an adult business, you have to also take care of your family. Otherwise, you're going to have fights within both of them and lose one or the other. You have to make sure you put the effort into both and put the work. It's all about work and putting that first foot forward and keeping that effort going.
Beautiful. I love it. And that leads to growth, right? And that's the biggest thing is understanding how that leads to growth. So I love what you said about leadership being the example, leading by example, being the best at what you're doing and but also giving your team the space to make their own decisions, right? To be leaders themselves. And that's beautiful. And then the entrepreneurship, I could not agree more with the idea of discipline, the and being setting those boundaries. It's funny because I just the other night I told somebody that they wanted me to come and do a presentation, virtual presentation that they wanted me to come in the evening. And I'm like, I've committed to my family that I'm not working past 5 o'clock. Just not
Nice.
doing it. And it's been like that for years. I don't work weekends and I don't work past 5 o'clock. And it has been that's where that balance of family and business comes in. And
Yep,
I think you're absolutely spot on when it comes to that. And I think that is very powerful, keeping the two separate and making sure that you honor both.
definitely.
So if today's conversation got you thinking about brand, your message, or your showing up in the world, come check out the Brand Success Hub. It's my on-demand resource center packed with tools, training, and templates to help you get clear, consistent, and confident in your brand. Just head over to 30secondsuccess.com and check out the hub. I'll see you on the inside. So, Rich, one of the things that I love talking about before we sign off is what's the best way people can connect with you or go deeper into your work?
You can go to our website, themisfitnation.com. There's a contact form on there. You write on there. It comes right to my email, and I answer most of those within an hour or so, depending on how busy I am at my actual day job. And I usually get right back with people. I am on every platform, and they're all listed on the website. You can click on any one of the platforms and see where we are. You can find all our shows, audio, video, and all that on there, and we will get back to you and help you out.
Yeah. And Rich, you also do a lot of speaking, correct?
Yes.
Do you have any like speaking engagements coming up, or are there anything you want to share with our audience about what you love to speak on and who needs to hire you?
I love to speak on motivation and basically the soldier's journey and coming through that transition window and getting those ups and downs, getting the punch in the face I got when I transitioned and being able to absorb that like not a Mike Tyson hit, granted, but I took a hit and I was able to stand up on my own 2 feet and drive forward and build my resilience and grit. So grit, resilience, and motivation is what really leads our speaking engagements.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. So today we've really dove into leadership from the perspective of somebody who has taken their military background and really helped them to grow. And I love being here with my good friend Rich LaMonica. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. But before we go, what final thought do you have for us, Rich, or next, what's that encourage, final thought for encouragement, or your next 30-second decision that would leave our listeners with deep thoughts for today?
Outstanding. And I like to end with every day is a challenge. Every day you're going to go through things. I want you tomorrow to start counting the victories you have every day. From it could be from just waking up in the morning. That's a victory for some people, depending on your age, that you wake up and everything still works in the morning. That's a victory. Count everything that goes right. Every day something is going to go wrong. Do not let that one thing kill your day. Brush it aside, learn from it like we talked about earlier, and drive forward. Count the victories. If you get 18 victories today, get 19 tomorrow and keep pushing forward in life. That way you will be the best version of you and share your success with others.
Love that. Count your victories today and push forward and keep adding on to those victories tomorrow. I couldn't have said it better myself. Thank you so much, Rich, for being here with us. Thank you so much for joining us on the 30-Second Success Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's inspiring conversation. Until then, stand in your brand, trust your voice, and remember, success is just 30 seconds away.